Hi everyone, this is Jackie Jones of Jones & Associates Law Firm, PC, where service is our signature. As we often tell our clients, we are a lifestyle practice, which means that we handle the general things that come in your family and your lives. Family law, that's divorce and custody, adoption, those sort of things. Criminal law, many of them stem from family issues, DUIs and assaults and drug cases, that sort of thing. And estate and probate means that when someone passes away, or even before someone passes away, when they are thinking about getting their life together, so their families, their children, their spouses will be able to take care of themselves if the worst happens. But today I had a consultation on divorce, and I found myself explaining some things that I explain all the time. And I also talked to one of my clients who indicated that he watches all of my videos. He's like, I watch all of these, and you don't talk enough about divorce. And I'm not going to answer his question today because it's pretty complicated, but I will probably answer it in a video that I'm going to post in our special Facebook group. Ooh. So we are developing a new retainer program, and people who are part of that new program will have access to a special Facebook group where I will give more of these discussions, some of which will be live videos where people can ask their questions and get them answered right on the spot. Others will be, more formal videos where they know what the subject is and where they're coming. So that's what I'm working on. But let's talk divorce. So one of the things that happens is that people come in and they say they want a divorce. Now, I'm not like other family law attorneys, and I'm not saying this is everyone, but I'm not like one of those attorneys that says, oh yes, give me all your money and we're going to start on this divorce right away. Your spouse is evil. I like to figure out what's going on because some people are not really ready for a divorce, not ready emotionally, not ready financially, not ready in the sense that they didn't even try. They maybe need to stick it out a little longer. They need to know if that's what they really want. They need to know if counseling is what they really need. And I, said to this guy today, hey, look, I don't always tell people to go for it with divorce, and there's a reason for that. But if you are at a divorce stage, you usually need to understand how this works. So we're in Pennsylvania, and there's a couple of ways to do. There's grounds for divorce, which are irreconcilable differences, which we call usually a no-fault divorce. And there's also grounds for divorce for fault things. Some of those fault things could be infidelity. It could be imprisonment for a period, I think, of over 2 years. It could be, just certain, making the life so vexatious, basically making your life so miserable that you can't stay with that person. There are a couple other things. There's obviously an annulment when there's avoidable marriage. But most people have a no-fault divorce, and that no-fault divorce is on two grounds. We call them 3301C and D. We say C and D divorce because that's the statute that it comes under. So when you hear your lawyer talking about we're going to C divorce or a D divorce, you should know what that means. C is usually when both parties have decided we want to be separated. We're done. And after the right period of time, they will actually sign the divorce decree, and not divorce. They will sign the consent to the divorce decree, and we will send it out to the courts, and the courts will, grant you a divorce. Those are the simplest ones. And people always come into me saying, oh yes, we've agreed. We don't want to be married anymore. We're going to be divorced. And we agreed on everything. We're just going to do this. Well, but then you find out that you don't agree on everything. Like maybe you thought you agreed on everything because one person said they'd keep the house, but the person who's not keeping the house expected the one who's keeping the house to pay them their fair share, right? And the person who said, I'm keeping the house, thought you were just giving up any right to it. Sometimes it's because we can't agree on what pensions or 401ks there are. There are bills like, we have a Home Depot charge, but all you did was, you refinished the kitchen and you spent $15,000, and I never agreed to refinish the kitchen. Well, if refinishing the kitchen added, $20,000, $30,000 in value to the house, and you want to share in that house value, you may also have to share in that expense, meaning you also are responsible to pay that bill off. So those are things that come up. And so what happens is then, if we can't do that, we do a D divorce. That is why generally when I file for irreconcilable differences, I file under 3301C and 3301D. D is a divorce where you say, I can't live with this person anymore. We have irreconcilable differences. But a year has passed and they're not signing off on this divorce. So court, please let me get my divorce anyway. That's what a divorce is. So that is really important to know, because you can come in and say, well, my friends got divorced and they went to court and it was 3 months and they were done. Well, technically speaking, you file the paperwork, you wait 90 days, you sign the consent. Technically speaking, you could be done in, close to 3 months. Because, you do everything right on time, you hand it in, everyone really cooperates, it can be done quickly. But usually there's something called equitable distribution, ED we call it. That's when you have to share and figure out what happens with the assets. In fact, I may have one of my friends pop in here sometime soon to talk to you, because she was working with digital assets and how to separate them and how to discover what's there, and who gets the Amazon account, who gets all the pictures in the cloud, who gets the books and all the things that we did together because we were saving money, who gets the Apple Music account. So I may have her pop in sometime and talk to you about that, because those are things that we don't often think about. But when you are dealing with a 3301C divorce, the reason that I encourage you to also file the D at the same time is because all those things happen a lot, where people say they agree and then the agreement is not as firm as you'd like, or you didn't think of things. So I say, well, yeah, great, you guys have made a decision on the house. You said you're going to share the kids, but how do you share the kids? Well, what do you mean? Well, you guys are now living in different school districts. Do you want them to stay in the same school district? One parent, well, yes, of course I do. The other parent, I moved to a better school district. Why shouldn't they go on mine? Or you say we're going to have 50-50 custody of the kids. One parent, 50-50 means I get a week, you get a week. The other parent, I can't go that long without seeing my kids. Look at my puppy. My puppy really enjoys these videos, and she makes a lot of appearances. And the other parent says, no, I want it Monday and Tuesday. You can have Thursday and Friday. We share the weekends. Okay? So there's so many things you can mean by that. And, sometimes lawyers make it needlessly complicated. We know so many things about this. We've seen so many different ways it's done that sometimes we give you ideas that shouldn't even be in your head, like you guys may have worked it out. And in those cases, when I think people have basically worked it out, I try to stay in the background and just write it up so that what you're asking for, you get. But sometimes I go, this doesn't work. I mean, this is not a good and smart idea. If someone were going to say to me, I keep the kids for the first 6 months of the year and you keep them for the second 6 months, and I'm like, you don't see your kids for 6 months? That's dumb. It's a baby. That's extra dumb. So, but when you're dealing with divorce, one of the things you really have to be aware of is, what does your attorney know about how you want your divorce to proceed? Do you want it to go quickly? Are you willing to drag it out? Do you need spousal support? Do you need alimony when it's all over? You want an attorney who can tell you what you're really entitled to. Like, if you have been married for 20 years and you've always been the stay-at-home spouse, you're pretty much entitled to alimony. If you've been married for 2 years and you've been working the whole time and making just as much as your spouse, you're probably not going to get alimony. You may, however, though, if in the 2 years that you were together, you weren't able to work because you had a serious health condition and you were the sole dependent spouse, well, in that case, the judge may say, yeah, you may be entitled to a little something. This is an unusual situation. But you really want to let your attorney know what your hopes are. And a smart and honest attorney will tell you the truth. They won't just say, oh, sure, I'll do that. Because let me tell you what happens when my dog is really being crazy right now. What happens when your attorney is not 100% honest with you, when they are not completely committed to getting you the truth of what you want, it'll go something like this. I want to be divorced really quickly. I don't care if we have to deal with the money later. I want out right now. And they have to tell you, and they should tell you, well, bifurcating divorces is pretty difficult, so you're not guaranteed to be divorced before the money's taken care of. Or someone says to you, I want to get 100% of my pension. I don't want this other person to have any of it, and you have to tell them the truth. Well, when you've been married 20 years, they're probably going to be entitled to part of your pension. Now, why do I say you tell them the truth? Because we make more money generally by filing things and going to court and billing hourly. And that's why sometimes I'm looking for solutions that don't require me to bill hourly. So, as an attorney, your kind of interest is making more money. But you need someone who's interested in making the best for their client. Now, obviously, I'm not making more money, so that's not me. But you also know, I think, that I'm a busy attorney. And I tell my clients, they see my desk. I'm busy. I don't have time to file frivolous complaints. I'm not going to file a complaint, or I'm not going to file a motion to the judge asking for you to not have to give any of your pension money to your soon-to-be ex-spouse, who, by the way, never worked because you guys agreed that he or she would take care of the kids, and that's why they didn't work, and they don't have any option of having a pension other than their share of yours. I'm not going to ask you, I'm not going to let you file something like that because it's dumb. It's not smart. It won't be granted. It's smart for me because by the time I do a petition for $750 or so and go to court, and then maybe we go back multiple times, and if you spend $1,000, $1,500 for me to go in there and make a dumb argument, it's only smart for me. So you want to make sure your lawyer's on your side, not just on the side of their money. You also want them to explain some things to you. You want them to tell you the difference between a fault and a no-fault divorce. You want them to tell you, listen, there was an issue in infidelity, but you took your spouse back, and you've been together 3 years after the affair happened. I'm not going to file for a divorce on the grounds of infidelity. You may still be hurt by it, but you took them back, which is essentially condoning it, forgiving it. You're not going to have that granted. And if I don't also file the no-fault divorce, then maybe by the time we go through all that and we have a bunch of hearings and the judge says, no, this is not a grounds for divorce, then you have to file all over again under the no-fault. So I want to try to tell you ways like that to save you money and to kind of keep you reasonable. I'm also going to tell you to be reasonable on things about what property you want to keep. And by that I mean personal property. There are things like the dishes that you got from your grandmother that you absolutely should keep. But some little tchotchke or thing that you bought and gave them for a gift, and you don't want him or her to have it anymore because you don't want the new person to have access to this thing that you bought, well, that's not going to work. So you want a lawyer who's going to actually tell you the truth. You want a lawyer who's going to talk you off the ledge. Sometimes you need a lawyer who's going to help you when you cry, and they're going to say it's okay, and we're going to walk through this. And sometimes you need a lawyer who's going to give you a kick in the butt when you cry and say, we're not doing this. Sometimes as that attorney, I have to tell people, I'm not letting you give up. I know you want to give up because they're making it hard for you, but you're entitled to this, and I'm not letting you give up. So those are really aspects of what are you looking for in your lawyer, as well as what are you looking for in your divorce. And sometimes they kind of go together because the divorce itself is an emotional roller coaster. I fortunately have never had to go through a divorce. I'm very happy I've never had to go through that. But you know what else I discovered? It's painful and it's hard. And when you give your all, when you put your life into it, when you trusted someone with your life, with your money, with your intimate secrets, with your family, with everything, to have to go through this is really, really hard. And I've watched people struggle through it. And usually I can tell when they're ready because the tone changes when they come to me. Sometimes when they first come to me, they want, oh, I just want what I'm entitled to, and I want him to pay, or I want her to pay, and I want to get this, and I want to do that. And then there comes a point where they say, I surrender, essentially. I want what's fair, but I don't want to be in this anymore. I don't want to fight every little thing. I don't want to be in the midst of that. And you want a lawyer who understands when that happens and helps. Because we can fight with the other attorney all day, every day. And sometimes we have that situation where I'm fighting with an attorney. I'm like, I'm going to get my client everything. But, the attorney's fighting over essentially $200. And I said, listen, it's going to cost us more money to go in court and fight over this $200 than to just concede. And so you really want your lawyer to know where you are in the process and for them to watch and be ready. So we are probably going to be talking a little bit more about divorce because my client did say he wanted to hear more about divorce, but it's going to be on some other levels. We may talk about assets and debts and how those come out on the balance sheet. We may also talk about equitable distribution and bifurcation, which means how do we deal when it's time to get this divorce done and somebody's holding it up. And if you have some other topics you'd like to hear about related to the things that we do or anything else interesting, drop us a message here and we can try to fit that in. I will probably do some more really formal lawyer videos, but I love the Facebook Live concept because when you do the live videos, you really have a chance for people to ask questions. So like if somebody has a question right now, they can just drop it in and I see the feed and I can answer it like right in the moment, which I love. It also allows me to be a little more informal. I don't have to worry about my makeup. I don't have to worry about everything being perfect. I can just really talk directly to you about the issues that come up, the things that people say, the things that bother people, that they really want solved. So again, be on the lookout for a couple of things. One, we are going to be asking for guests for our podcast, Jonesing for Justice. Yes! We're going to be asking for guests for our podcast. We also are going to be giving out information about our new Lawyers on Call program, Locked and Locked Up. That's what we're calling them for short. And you'll be having the opportunity to join one of those programs if it works for you. So thank you for joining us today. I'm hoping that if I have a moment, I'll make a cute cover for this, put it up on our YouTube channel, YouTube, link to Pinterest and Twitter and Instagram. I really feel like I need a tech assistant who can do all this stuff for me. Anyway, great sharing with you today. If this gave you any value, if this is something that was interesting to you, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, let us know. I kind of feel like I'm talking to myself unless it's a Q&A forum. So I really like when people respond later and they give us comments and they say things, and the ones of you who see me on the street and say things, because I know that it's adding value and I know it's worth it, and I want to continue to do it only if it's worth it. Like if it's not worth it, I won't do it anymore. But if it's helping you or training you or teaching you or letting you feel more confident in your legal choices. And I mean that because what happens is people don't always know. They're like, what do you say? What do you want to do? What do you think we should do? And I really want people to feel empowered to make decisions about their lives. So drop a comment. Let me know if this works for you, if this is important, if this format is good for you. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you soon.